Stay hungry, stay foolish, he said. These were the last words heard by Stanford's class of 2005 before their official commencement. And who better than to hear this advice from than one of the greatest minds of all time, Steve Jobs. His accomplishments are a staple in modern culture, and over the course of his short-lived 56 years, Steve Jobs founded Apple, re-engineered Pixar, and released revolutionary technology before his death on October 5th, 2011. He packed so many accomplishments into such a short life because his mission to change the world began early. At a mere age of 21 years old, Steve Jobs founded Apple on April 1st, 1976. With the help of Steve Wozniak, Steve Jobs wanted to create a user-friendly computer. They were successful in doing so, and Apple was seemingly at full speed. Jobs' time at Apple, though, was soon to be cut short. Although the Apple II was a success, Steve Jobs hated the stagnancy of having to rely on one product to maintain his entire company. He was a visionary, and in being so, he could not contain his ideas. He wanted more and pushed for the production of numerous products, but to no avail. Jobs' hunger for excellence was misunderstood. Due to these failed products, Jobs' bad work reputation, and a power struggle between Jobs and Apple's board, Steve Jobs left Apple in 1985. Following his exit, Jobs picked up a number of projects, including Next and Pixar. Jobs and his genius revamped and re-engineered Pixar, bringing the company the majority of its success that it has today. Subsequently, Apple enlisted in Jobs to help the then struggling company. Steve Jobs sold Next and its OS system to Apple in 1997. Following his return to Apple, Steve Jobs released infamous revolutionary technology over the course of the next few years, including the iPod in 2001, the iPhone in 2007, and the iPad in 2010, which all changed the way we use technology today. Aside from Jobs' commercial success, he lived another life at home. Steve Jobs is known for being the most famous tech giant of all time, but he had a life beyond that. He was born an unnamed child as his parents had intentions on giving him up for adoption. After being adopted, he was given the name Stephen Paul Jobs. At the start of his career, Steve struggled with fatherhood, but after some time, he showed his adaptability and adjusted per usual. Despite his fears of parenthood, Jobs remained resilient. He conquered fatherhood with his daughter, Lisa, from Apple Studios, frequently having intellectual conversations with her, playing with Apple products, and occasionally having to force her to go to school. The two formed an unorthodox yet unbreakable bond. In 1991, Steve Jobs married his wife, Laurene Powell, and fathered 3 more children, Reed, Aaron, and Eve. Steve Jobs also adopted Buddhism, and despite his monetary success, he did not care much for material. He was a visionary whose main goal was to change the world and make an impact, not make money. In his sister's editorial, A Sister's Eulogy for Steve Jobs, she says, "This is not to say he did not enjoy his success. He enjoyed his success a lot, just minus a few zeros." Also, according to his sister, on his deathbed, he was looking at his family, and Jobs' last words were, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." Almost as if he were reflecting on the life that he had and the legacy that he knew he was leaving. As great as a force that Steve Jobs was and continues to be, it's easily forgotten that he was only a man, and not a man without weaknesses. After battling pancreatic cancer for some time, Jobs eventually succumbed to the illness on October 5th, 2011. Despite his death, Steve Jobs left behind a triumphant and everlasting legacy. First and foremost, Steve Jobs changed the way the world uses technology. His mission was to make it simple, and in doing so, he made it accessible. Today, practically everyone has the ability to use a computer, and before Steve Jobs, this feat seemed unattainable. He changed the culture. Steve Jobs changed the way people listen to music. He made it easy, and he made it sleek and portable. Not only that, but he changed the way we listen and buy music as well. With iTunes, he made it possible to buy a single song, a whole album, or even preview music, all at your fingertips. He influenced the childhoods of so many with his influence in animation. Because of Steve Jobs, Toy Story, Monsters, Inc., and a number of Disney shorts all flood the memories of a generation. His ideas revolutionized technology. From the creation of the first touchscreen, he set the precedent for many companies to follow and force innovation for the benefit of the consumer. His work will live on through his company as well as the minds of generations to come. Though his life ended so soon, his legacy and influence will live forever. On a final note, Steve Jobs was a revolutionary. He's regarded as the godfather of technology, and in his short life, he harnessed innovation and changed the world through technology. Over the course of 56 years, Steve Jobs founded Apple, re-engineered Pixar, and released revolutionary technology, and before his untimely death on October 5th, 2011. He was a visionary, a leader, but most importantly, he was an inspiration. Steve Jobs brought beauty to a bleak industry and left his fingerprint in the realm of technology. The world would not be the same without Steve Jobs' impact. And with that, I will leave you with his words. Stay hungry, stay foolish.